Okay, we're live.
We're live, Swamiji.
Okay, I'm Swami Janeshwar, and this is Q&A time. And who are you?
Matri.
Okay, and we were going to talk about, somebody raised a question, something about mantra. I'm just going to paraphrase this. I'm wondering if specific mantras are given to individuals who are aspirants, or do you find your own? And I think my first impression with pondering this is to observe that in any case, mantra is extremely useful, and in what ways. And if you have a person or community or tradition in your life about your practices, if you have a coach or a teacher or a mentor, then it's extremely useful to talk to that person or those people about what mantra is fitting for you at this particular time. So I'm not sure if that's directly what this question is addressing, but use the counsel that you have available to you and see where that goes with mantra.
What do you got there, Swamiji?
I have here our little, for a lot of you this is probably familiar, what we sometimes call our little circle chart. And by the way, we've had a bunch of these printed up on postcards. This is actually a postcard. So if you're seeing this and you'd like to have one of these postcards, send us your postal mailing address, and we'll put a stamp on the back and write your address in and mail it to you. It's a handy little thing, just for the fun of it. So one of the first pieces of what mantra can be extremely useful for is stabilizing the conscious mind, and that's the spirit where many people, probably most people, initially talk about learning meditation and pose the question something like, "Oh, teacher, what do I do to get this mind to shut up? This mind is driving me crazy. I'm just worrying constantly. And it's time for meditation, and I'm thinking, and problem solving, work on conversations on the job and things like this." And mantra can be extremely useful here. Not that mantra is used as a sort of club, where you're jabbering, trying to force thoughts to go away, but it can have an extremely stabilizing effect. And sometimes mantra has been called a compact or a short prayer. So if you have in your spiritual or religious life, if you have a little prayer that speaks to you, that can have a stabilizing effect, simply because it's giving the mind something to do. There's an old story, I don't know where it comes from, that the sage was sitting there with the student and is going to travel away for a while, and says to the student, "I'm going to give you this thing to hold on to, and it's like a genie's a lamp and a genie and a lamp." And he said, but don't rub the lamp." Of course, what did the student do?
Of course he rubs the lamp.
Of course he rubs the lamp, and out of the lamp comes a genie and says to the students, "Hello, sir, what do you want me to do for you?" And he said, "What do you mean?" He said, I'm here to serve you. Anything you want me to do for you, I will do." And he says, "Well, I'm hungry. Will you make me lunch?" So Genie goes into the kitchen and whips up a really good lunch, sits there and eats and says, "Now what do you want me to do?" And he says, well, you can relax now, you can take a break. And he said, no, I need something to do, you have to give me something to do. So he said, okay, well, clean the house. So the genie goes and starts cleaning everything and comes back and says, okay, now what do you want me to do? He says, I don't have anything more for you to do. And the genie's standing there, and he's starting to get a little drool coming out of the side of his mouth and getting a little hungry look about him. He says, sir, you better give me something to do. And the genie says to him, were you not given instructions about what to do with me? And the student says, no, instructions? What are you talking about? And he said, well, sir, I'm very sorry to tell you this, and I like you, you're a really nice person, but if you don't give me something to do, I'm going to eat you.
Oops.
Oops. It's just in my nature. I can't help myself. So you have to give me something to do. And the poor student is about to get gobbled up by this genie. And he thinks quickly, the student did. He said, okay, please do this. Do you see that mountain over there? He said, yes. And beside the mountain there's a big forest. He said, go to that forest and find the biggest, tallest, straightest tree that you can. He said, yes, sir. And he says, and cut that tree down and bring it back here. So this is a really big, strong genie, so he goes running off towards the mountain and the forest, cuts down a tree, and in a little while comes back dragging this really huge tree. He says, okay, now cut off all the branches. And he says, and dig a hole in the ground. The genie digs a hole in the ground, cuts off all the branches, and now put that big post that was the tree planted in the ground there. And he says, genie says, okay. Now that's all there, he says, and then he tells the genie, he said, now what I want you to do is climb the tree up to the top. And when you get to the top, turn around and climb back down. And when you get to the ground, climb to the top. And then come back down. And keep doing that until I give you a separate, different job to do. So the genie starts doing that, and the problem is solved.
Beautiful metaphor.
It's just a silly, fun little story. It's easy for I think it's easy for the mind to imagine. That in my mind makes it in sort of cartoon form.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a fun cartoon for a cartoonist to make someday, to tell that story. Anyway, in the metaphor, the genie is your mind. And there's nothing wrong with minds. The genies are absolutely wonderful servants. And your mind is a wonderful, wonderful servant. And you don't beat it, but it has to have something to do. If it doesn't have something to do, it will eat us up with worry and fear and hallucinations and negativity.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with thinking. We have incredible minds, and we should use them with all we can for critical thinking skills and apply them in life and job, and the mind is a wonderful tool. But this idea here in the metaphor, the tree, one of the symbols of that is the Sushumna channel, the subtle spine, going from the top of the head down to the base of the spine, and the base of the spine up to the top of the head. It's symbolized sometimes when you see where artists have drawn pictures of chakras. They always put a line through it, and that line through the chakras is Sushumna. It appears to be that this Sushumna energy channel is going through the chakras, but it's actually the substratum out of which the chakras energetically have emerged. So that's the symbol of the tree. So going up and down the spine, a good example is So-Hum mantra, where internally you're sitting quietly and you're imagining your attention going up that subtle spine, up the tree, with So to the crown of the head, and then exhaling and imagining that that is going down to the base of the spine, the base of the tree, at the ground in the first chakra with hum. And it has a very, very stabilizing effect. Now there's many ways in which mantra can be used for its stabilizing effect. It can be the So Hum has been called universal mantra because it so easily, naturally aligns with the breath. And everybody breathes. So it's in that spirit that it's universal. And so that's dealing with mind out here at this conscious mind level as that relates to the physical body and the gross level of breath, of inhalation and exhalation. On the little cup there, I don't know if you can...
Shall I hold it close?
Why don't you take it and just so everybody can see it. Just a quick glance. There. And so you can see the conscious mind. So at the most external level, and now come back, Ma, and then now you know where it is. You can more easily see what I'm pointing to from back here. At a subtler, deeper, more advanced level, as we progress along the way with the practice of meditation, the purpose of mantra is to lead us from out here all the way in. Best example of that is Om mantra, and the Ah, the U, and the and the silence of Om mantra. So it's Om, and then there's silence. So there's Ah, there's U, and there's and there's silence. It progressively leads from the gross to the subtle, to the causal, to consciousness itself. It gradually leads us inward. And many of the Sanskrit mantras contain Om. And so that's a useful mantra to remember. So I'm trying to point out that mantra, of two major ways in which mantra is useful. One is stabilizing the conscious mind in the context of our conscious mind operating out here in the world in conjunction with physical breath in the body. And then the subtler meaning or use of mantra is leading us inward towards the center of consciousness, which here in this graphic we have symbolized with this question mark, simply pointing out that it doesn't matter what we call that. We can call that question mark divine or spiritual, or Atman or Brahman or Purusha or Shakti, that is one with Shiva, or we can call it God. In some sense, it doesn't matter what you call it, but the idea is that we know that we have a conscious mind. We know we live in the waking state. We all know that we have a dreaming state of reality, and we all have experienced deep sleep. So we have waking, dreaming, deep sleep. And in relation to Om, that's the Ah, U, of Om, waking, dreaming, deep sleep. And then the silence is Turiya, pure consciousness, or Atma. And so with considerable practice, as we allow that mantra to be internally experienced here or here or here or here in some physical location in our being, then the mantra has a leading quality that leads us to the ultimate goal of meditation that goes by various names. So one is stabilizing and the other is allowing the mantra to lead us within. And again, I would suggest in response to the way the question was posed, is talk to the people who you consider to be your coaches or mentors or guides about the subject of mantra with a goal of seeing what matches for you right now. And some mantras can be done. Soham is a perfect example. Anybody can do Soham mantra. To put it in familiar terms to most people in this country, we're in America, where the dominant religious view is Christian. in the New Testament of the Bible, there's a suggestion in one of the Gospels, I think it's Matthew, and maybe it's more than one of them, where Jesus is quoted as saying, there's only one prayer you need, and here it is. And most of us have heard this or are familiar with it. They refer to it as the Lord's Prayer, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. And in the middle of that is the invitation to come. So while that's a prayer, it's also an invoking and it's inviting. So with attention in the heart. And one of the words for that, which I believe is Aramaic, although it may be Greek, I'm not sure which language it is, but is Maranatha, which is also one of the later concepts in that Bible that says, Lord, come. It too is the invitation to come. So Maranatha is a mantra. So that tradition does not use the word mantra, but in the book of John it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. It's right. It's like the first verse of that text, and we can fairly make the observation that that is referring to a mantra. It has been widely noted by others that Om is not merely an Eastern Sanskrit mantra, but that also Amen is also essentially the same mantra with a different pronunciation. And Amin, which I don't know what language Amin is, but at the heart of that prayer is the invitation that is internally. It's an invitation that says, "Come, Lord." And so this is the principle of mantra. And note that that may have a stabilizing sense to it, but if it's done internally with deep feeling and sincerity, it's an invitation to allow yourself to go inward and that divine force to come outward and meet you, because it's saying, come. And so, any thoughts?
No. I think she'll be able to do something with that.
We can hope.
Mm-hmm. And otherwise people can continue questioning.
Yeah, if you have anything you'd like us to chat about, tell us in an email or somewhere like one of the ashram group Facebook posts.
Yes.
And we'll try to talk about it a little bit.
We will.
And
if you want one of
if
those.
you want one of these.
Is that for me?
You want one?
Yeah.
You don't have one? I'll give you one.
I don't have one yet.
All right, I'll give you one for your very own.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay?
Okay, thank you for playing. All is well?
Yes. I'm going to turn it off.
Now she's going to turn off the camera.